In today's lab test, we're going to explore how to fatten up a clean tone. Recently, a question came up in a Facebook group I'm in asking how to get a fatter clean tone specifically with single coil pickups. My friend is using a telly with a humbucker in the bridge and single coil in the neck. He is playing through a fractal using a matchless model and Fender type speakers. There are countless ways to accomplish this. I'm going to explore a few ideas here in this video. If I missed anything, feel free to comment and teach me something. Quick disclaimer, I am not a professional studio engineer nor a professional musician. I'm going to make mistakes playing guitar, that's for sure. I love to play with sound here in my little lab. This is why I call the channel Wagner Sound Lab and not Wagner Sound Studio. So when the question came up in Facebook, my first thought was to add a compressor to the signal chain. The reasoning behind this is because clean channel or clean tone typically doesn't have a lot of compression by default. As you add gain, you add compression, and a byproduct of this is perceived loudness. This is why when you switch between the clean and dirt channel, when you go from dirt back to clean, there's a perceived volume drop there. And that's because the dirt channel is compressed naturally and the clean channel is not. So typically when I hear compressor in a guitar chain, I immediately think Dynacomp, and that's not the sound that we would be looking for here. The problem with the Dynacomp in this exercise is that the entire signal is compressed. And this is great if you're going for a specific sound, chicken pickin', country-ish type of thing. You know, if you have a Dynacomp in a phase 90, you could do 70s Waylon Jennings all day long. I'm going for the Keeley 4-knob. The Keeley 4-knob has a blend, and the blend allows you to blend in the clean signal. This preserves your pick attack while giving you the advantage of the sustained and volume lift of the compressor itself. So to go over my signal chain real quick, using my Nash Telecaster, and this is a very bright and punchy guitar. The Lawler pickups in this are very bright and punchy, and it also has a treble bleed circuit in it. It maintains the treble as you turn the volume down, and it actually gets a little more trebly when you turn the volume down. From here I'm going into a noise gate because I'm running single coil, and this little room has a lot of electronics in it, so there's a lot of interference being picked up, and I want to knock that out so you guys aren't listening to a buzz the entire time. From there I'm going into whatever effects we're going to use in this exercise to fatten up clean tone. From there it's going into a Roland RE202 Space Echo, which I have off. I'm just too lazy to remove it from the board. And from the Space Echo, we go into my Universal Audio Dream 65, which is their Fender Deluxe Reverb offering. The Universal Audio model pedals are phenomenal. I've got the Dream 65, the Lion, the Ruby, which does a Vox, and the Enigmatic, which does Dumble. I really like them a lot. It saves me a lot of time recording these videos because I don't have to mic up cabinets and stuff like that. And out of the Dream 65, I'm going into a Strymon Flint to add a little bit of plate reverb, and from there I'm going into my DAW. So, clean sound with the Dream 65. I wanted to make sure that the tube screamer wasn't on. So, first thing is, there's a little bit of hair there. Roll the volume down on the guitar a little bit. Now we'll go ahead and add the Keeley Compressor. So you can see that fattens things up nicely. The blend, I have a lot of the clean signal blended back in. So basically I don't want the signal to be over compressed. I kind of want the compression part of it to be transparent, like you notice it when it's not on. And so I have a lot of the clean signal blended back in. This pedal also works phenomenal for bass for that reason, because you can blend in the clean signal. And then I've got, the compression itself is not all that much. And then of course, because this is such a bright and punchy guitar, I've got the tone down quite a bit on this. And then, level to taste. So it definitely gives that volume lift and it fattens things up. So that's the Keeley Compressor. That's one way to fatten up a clean sound. I was thinking about this and I thought a lot of people have in the past, including folks like Stevie Ray Vaughan, have used the tried and true tube screamer for this purpose. Level up, drive down, tone to taste. And even with the level down, you're going to get some grit, but you could tame that with the volume knob on the guitar pretty well. So we'll go back and there's my unaffected. Turn the tube screamer on. Now, if I turn the volume all the way up, that's a little bit more grit than we want, so we'll roll the volume down the guitar. And that's a good clean sound. That's okay, I'm leaving it. And the reason I added the pedal pawn here is because this is a killer combination. So you can get really nice fat clean sound out of the tube screamer. The minute you kick this in and roll up the volume on the guitar, now you're into that Stevie Ray type of territory. So you can get that SRV snarl by adding a Dallas Rangemaster style circuit to the front of your tube screamer. Works really well. And then back to our unaffected tone. So I'm going to take a quick pause here and change out some pedals. A couple of other ideas that I had. This one here, probably the most overlooked, is your equalizer pedal. And we're going to play with that. A lot of people like to use a Klon Centaur as a clean boost. So we're going to play around a little bit with that. And then I'm going to also play with using a Fuzz Face, 2-transistor fuzz circuit, because they clean up very nicely into a glassy type clean with the guitar's volume as well. And that works particularly well with single coils. So we'll play around with those, and of course if I come up with any other ideas, we're going to go ahead and explore those too while I'm making this video. So this is kind of done on the fly. I haven't really scripted a whole lot of this, so you know, bear with my little mistakes and things like that. We'll be back in a few. Okay, I am back. Before we move on to the next set of pedals, I want to make mention on the tube screamer front that one pedal that might be really good for this is the Earthquaker Plumes. The Earthquaker Plumes has a toggle switch in one of the positions it's actually a clean boost, and the Earthquaker Plumes has a lot of volume in it. It's basically a tube screamer on steroids. So that might be a good choice, good thing to experiment with. If you put it on that boost setting, and again turn the gain down or the drive down and keep the volume up, you'll be able to elevate clean sound and keep it clean. And again, always revert back to playing with the volume knob on the guitar. That is really key to all of this, in my opinion. So we're back, and like I mentioned earlier, one of the most overlooked effects pedals for this type of thing is your equalizer pedal. When I think punchy in a guitar context, I think mid-range. One of the things you can do with the equalizer pedal is give a volume lift and add a little bit of mid-range punch to your clean signal, and that will fatten things up. So back to the unaffected tone here. I'm going to put the volume slider on my Boss pedal here. I'm using a GE7. MXR makes a great 10 band that works. Plenty of them out there. You could get them really cheap. Equalizer pedals, like there's no boutique in that. You know, an equalizer pedal is a set of filters, and that's what it is. So it's always good to have one in the arsenal. Now with the volume slider at the detent middle position, I turn the pedal on pretty anemic, but as I increase the volume, and of course you can adjust the EQ curve to your liking. I still have the volume down on the guitar just a slight bit. See, I can turn that up and you start to get a little bit of hair on it. Knock that down a little bit. So it's a more subtle way to get a clean boost, but an EQ pedal, like I said, should be in every guitarist arsenal. They are so versatile. I actually use this EQ curve right here when I play my Les Paul to take some of the bassiness out of it, especially on that neck pickup, and it works wonders for that purpose. I know Eddie Van Halen had an MXR 10 band, and he would basically boost the mids and drop the low frequencies, and that was part of his Brown sound. In fact, it was an integral part of his Brown sound. So always good to have those. Moving on, a lot of people use Klon Centaur as a clean boost. The Klon Centaur is kind of a unique circuit. Most people covet the original for its clean boost properties, and they claim, oh, the diodes that they used and all of that. Fact is the diodes, the clipping diodes, don't even come to play until the drive is past noon, basically. Once you're around 1, 2 o'clock, that's when you hear the clipping diodes. But I will admit that it does make a phenomenal clean boost pedal when you keep the volume up and the drive low. So if I'm not mistaken, these also respond very well to the guitar's volume. That's on the bridge. No, I'm still on the neck. Now I'm on the bridge. I mean, that's just a great sound. Switch back over to the neck. Drop the guitar's volume. Itself, you can just keep it as a clean boost all day long. So very versatile pedal. This is my RYRA Klone. This is actually made in Texas. I honestly don't know if they're still making them. I'd have to look that up. Other examples would be the Wampler Tumnus. Warm Audio makes a very good replication of the original Klon. It's the Centaur. I have one of those up on the shelf as well. If you really want to spend money, you can get the Crazy Tube Circuits Unobtainium, which is basically it's a Klon clone on one side and a Dumble EQ-ish type of thing on the other. So it's a dual pedal. That one sounds really good as well. It's a little expensive though, but you really can't go wrong with this circuit. It just does the thing. Take that down, get us out of that edge of breakup, roll the volume down. So you get the idea. It's a really good lift. Alright, so I'm going to take a pause and we're going to play around with a Fuzz Face and see if we can clean that up and get a nice glassy clean out of it with a little bit of punch. So I shall return. Okay, back, and we're going to play around with a Fuzz Face. One of the tricks that I learned recently, I guess in the last, say, 5 years or so, is if you have a 2-transistor fuzz pedal, like the Fuzz Face, you can roll back on the guitar's volume and get a really nice glassy clean tone out of it. Typically has to be the 2-transistor variant of the fuzz circuit. The tone benders, they can clean up somewhat. They are a 3-transistor circuit. If you're in the big muff territory, you're not going to be able to clean that up. That's a 4-transistor circuit, and it's basically just destroying your signal and turning it into a complete square wave at that point. Great sound, great sustain, but you just can't clean it up. So here's, again, the unaffected tone. Then we'll turn the pedal on. Now you're going to hear a little bit of buzzing. These are impedance sensitive. This is a 90s reissue from Dunlop of the Dallas-Arbiter. This is a germanium transistor Fuzz Face, and they are impedance sensitive, so I couldn't put the noise gate before the fuzz. You can't put a buffer before these, otherwise they just won't sound good at all. So you could basically take the circuit, you could dime out the fuzz, but I like to back off on the fuzz a little bit. You could definitely dime out the volume, which is what I have going on here. And you get that nice thick woolly fuzz with the guitar's volume all the way up. Like that. And then when you roll the volume down, just cleans up into a nice glassy clean. Roll the volume back up, you're back into that woolly fuzz. Gonna line up some more pedals and see if we can figure out some more ways to elevate the clean sound. Be right back. Alright, I'm back, and the next two pedals we're gonna explore to elevate clean sound, give it a little bit of lift, is going to be the Blues Breaker circuit. And also I have on the board now my Strymon Decco. Blues Breaker circuit came out, this particular pedal came out in the late 80s, and basically they weren't really that popular until, you know, recently when John Mayer put one on his pedal board, and everybody wanted that sound. And since then Marshall has reissued this pedal. There are a ton of variants on this pedal. Prince of Tone is a really good variant. I have one of those, and that's actually a really nice pedal. The King of Tone is based on this topology as well. There's just a ton of clones out there. The Wampler Tumnus is another, not the Tumnus, that's their Klon clone. Let me look. The Wampler Pantheon is a really good Blues Breaker clone, and it has a lot more options. Pretty simple circuit. Basically, that's all it really does, is kind of give things a lift. So we're gonna go back to our unaffected tone here. Turn the volume down just a little bit on the guitar. little bit of hair on that, but if, like I said, if you roll the volume on the guitar down a little bit, it kind of takes that out. And I think in a band mix, you want kind of a little bit of grit on the clean sound even, because I think it helps it cut through the mix. But I guess it really depends on the type of sound you're going for there. Really good circuit to give your clean sound a bit of a lift. Next we're going to go over to the Strymon Decco. Now this thing is a Swiss Army knife. I absolutely love this pedal. So what this pedal actually simulates is 2 reel-to-reel tape decks. This side specifically, back in the old days before flange pedals and chorus pedals and all that were a thing, these effects were done in the studio basically by taking 2 reel-to-reel decks, and the further you bring them apart from each other, you go in, you know, through zero flanging into chorus, into doubling, and then into slapback. And that's how they used to do it. I believe Sam Phillips at Sun Studio was a big experimenter with slapback in the studios back in the day. It was one of the things that Les Paul pioneered, among others. This side here is the input section of a reel-to-reel tape deck. So what it simulates is the gain stage going into the tape deck. So you could turn the level up and it would be like pinning the VU meter into the red, you know, and it basically gives you that warm tape saturation that's coveted actually. And on my Space Echo, which you can't see, it also has that preamp section, and then I also have a real Roland Space Echo, an RE150, that, you know, a real tape unit, and it has a really good preamp in it, and it gives that nice warm tape saturation that people covet. So back on my unaffected tone, and then we'll turn the left side of the Decco on, and it just gives it a nice lift. Up a little bit, like past noon, you kind of get that grit that you would get if you were peaking the meters on that. Turn that back down. One of the other things that I haven't mentioned yet that you can also use to kind of thicken your tone is chorus. Now, you got to be careful with chorus because you can go into, you know, 80s police territory, let's say. But subtle chorus can thicken things up. So if we go over to the right side of this, when you start out, you know, basically here, you're in the through zero flanging. As you move the decks, the 2 decks further apart from each other, you go into chorus. And it's a lot more subtle than, say, a Boss CE2. thickens things up nicely. If you add that with one of these other methods here, like we'll turn the blues breaker back on. Might have to roll the volume down on the guitar a little bit. I also find the Boss CE1 circuit to be a little milder than the CE2, so it would be good, you know, if you kind of wanted a transparent lift. Another cool trick, if you want to give your clean sound some shimmer and some movement, is you can use like the vibrato side of a CE1, or if you have a CE2 Waza, it actually has the vibrato circuit. And basically vibrato is taking the clean... Basically, you're taking all the clean mix out of the signal, so it's just the chorus side of it. In fact, let me grab one real quick. All right, so here's the Boss CE2W, and I bought this because it has a CE1 side to it, and let's see, and then also has the vibrato side. So that's the vibrato. Here's the CE1. You can see, if you compare that to what the Decco was doing, it's very subtle, but it just thickens things up. So I have my rate down and my depth up. Now if I turn it over here, with the vibrato, you want to turn the depth way down. So what the vibrato set this way very subtly. You know, if you turn the depth up, you get that seasick, that motion. But if you apply it very subtly, it basically just gives a shimmer to the sound. Unaffected tone. Turn the blues breaker on, thicken it up even a little more. All the way down. So those are all the ideas that I have off the top of my head. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any ideas that you would like to share with me, please don't hesitate to comment down below. If you've seen anything that I might have missed or done anything wrong, constructive criticism is always welcome. Basically, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not a professional sound engineer. I just do this for a hobby. I like to play with sound. I do like to recreate sounds that I hear on record, or at least try to. And, you know, prove that you can come close, you know, in a home studio. You don't have to be at, you know, Sun City or someplace like that to do it. I appreciate everybody watching. Please drop a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.